Dispatchers help callers on the worst days of their lives. For over 25 years, we've been there. A silent partner in millions of calls thanks to our redundant and diverse networks that ensure call delivery. Today, cities are bigger, traffic more congested, and the challenge is more complex. But you're never alone, because InDigital is quietly improving, implementing, and driving the next generation of 911, so you're supported in every situation. Make the switch at indigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
The caller was actually a person in a vehicle, and his son was sitting beside him in the passenger seat and had pulled out a pistol and unprovoked just shot himself. And like his tone of voice was so calm, like from the get-go. I said, what's the address of your emergency? He told me where he was at, and he struggled to tell me where he was at because he was driving. He didn't know what intersection he was at. And we were like a minute into the call, and he still hadn't given me a general location. And then he just stops and he goes, I don't want you to think this isn't serious, because it is. He's like, my son shot himself. I'm still trying to figure out where I am.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, and a big shout-out, as always, to subscribers. Thank you for everything. I appreciate it. I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for all of you who are watching, listening, supporting, and sharing, so thank you so very much. I have been in North Carolina this week. It has been awesome. So many cool things going on, and speaking with a bunch of 911 professionals and sharing their powerful stories. And my next guest today is Desiree, and she is a 911 dispatcher with Henderson County Sheriff's Office out of North Carolina. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Things have just been awesome. But I will say this: when I left from Wilmington over in New Hanover County earlier this week, I left on a Tuesday. Finished all the episodes that I was going to be recording out there. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to push through. I'm going to drive straight through and then check into my hotel over here. And by the time I got here into the area, I got to the hotel and I was beat. And because it's like a little over 5 hour drive from there over here. And then when I get there and I go to check in, I give them my name and everything. And the girl at the desk, she goes, I'm sorry, sir, but your reservation actually doesn't start till tomorrow. And I said, what? And she goes, yeah, it doesn't start till tomorrow. And I said, man, I could have sworn that it started tonight. Do you have any rooms at all? And she goes, no, we don't have any rooms for tonight. And she goes, but there's like a Holiday Inn Express down the road. And I said, okay. So I called them really fast. And I said, do you guys have any rooms available? And the guy goes, yeah, we've got one. And I said, should I just reserve it now? I'm only like 4 minutes away from you. And he's like, I just come over here. Thank the Lord that they didn't give the room away, but in those 4 minutes. But I get there and the guy's like, oh yeah, we were just talking. Yeah, we've got one room. And I was like, thank you for that. So
Oh my goodness.
luckily I was able to find a room and everything went okay. But it has been awesome being here yesterday, being here at the center and training with everybody who was there and just meeting all of you. It has just been excellent. And so thank you for the hospitality, but thank you for what you do in this profession as well. And now I want to learn more about you. So how did you get involved in public safety to begin with? Because you're going on next month, like 5 years now, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So I found this job when I was about 18 years old.
Mhm.
I kind of had an idea of like what it would be like because we have a program through the sheriff's office called Star Camp where the SROs do community relations with the kids and all of that.
Mhm.
And they also have like the older high school kids come in and be camp counselors. So I actually got to tour the center like multiple years before I even considered this as a career. And I got to kind of see a little bit of what dispatch is.
So you actually got to do a tour of the center and all.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you then going in and seeing it? Because a lot of times people have said who have not really paid attention to any of like the 911 shows or anything like that, that when they walk in, they look at it and they think, man, this is like NASA. Like there's screens everywhere. People are doing all these things. They have
Yeah.
headsets on. Do you remember kind of what it was like for you seeing all of that during that time?
Yeah, it was kind of like a foreign experience. I'd never been in a law enforcement setting like that
Mhm.
before. And it was also kind of intimidating. Like you walk in and you see all the military time,
Right.
the 6 screens. I was like, I don't even know military time. But yeah.
Yeah, that is a. I remember being in dispatch in Central Dispatch, and we would have like a Citizens Academy coming in, and they would go into our training room and they would watch a video with the EOC and all of that, and then they would come in, and as soon as they walked in, you could almost hear like a like a that gasp, and everyone
Yeah.
just kind of looking around, and we're sitting there like, okay.
I'm
'Cause
on display right now.
I know exactly. The other thing though is that sometimes they wouldn't tell us until like a little bit before they were showing up, or someone would call, like the deputy director would call up and say, Ricardo, yeah, is everything okay? The Citizens Academy is going to be showing up any moment now. Oh, okay. Get off the phone. And I would get off my headset and look at my team and go, put all of your crap away. Like,
Right.
put your food away, put your laptop away. And they're like, what's going on? Is the sheriff coming or something? I'm like, no, Citizens Academy. And they're like, oh, so just start putting everything away. And then we're just sitting there like, all right, hello, how are you doing?
Do I have to do the talking?
I know. Yes, exactly. And of course, whenever they would come in, there was like nothing going on. So then they would say, oh,
This is easy.
yeah, this looks like something I could do as well. It's like, this is
Yeah.
not a true depiction of what 911 is.
No.
Yeah. So you have that experience. You've gone through and everything else. And now you've got the opportunity to, you've gotten hired. When you get hired, what is that feeling like? Is it just like, yes, I'm in, and kind of, kind of nervousness, or
Yeah.
what happened?
So I'm kind of a type A personality. I tend to be like a perfectionist.
Mhm.
But I also put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed in like places that I probably shouldn't. So when I came in, I immediately was like, I don't know if I can do this. It was really intimidating.
Yeah.
Should I be like listening to this? Because, you first come in and you sit and you listen to these calls, and it felt like something I shouldn't be listening to.
Right. Yes.
But gradually, it started to become something that I enjoyed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was there a moment at all where, whether it be a phone call or an incident that happened, or maybe even a conversation with someone that you were working with, that kind of solidified the fact that you were where you wanted to be, or that was the place that you were meant to be?
Um, I think one piece of feedback I got a lot from my trainer as a new hire was that I was very compassionate
Mhm.
and that I put a lot of emphasis on safety of the officers in the field. So that's something that's super important. Our job is to keep the officer safe, to make sure we know where they're at, but
Mhm.
also to make sure that we're compassionate and kind with our callers because, they're not calling us on their best days.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be the very first time that they're calling in. And it might be the last, depending on how you are on the phone with them. And I know sometimes, actually, just thinking about it now, I posted a clip of one of the other episodes on YouTube recently, and someone commented on it. I haven't had a chance to go back,
Yeah.
but someone commented on it saying, "Why are dispatchers so rude all the time, or why do they sound so rude all the time on the radio?" And what I need to do is attach a link to a different video because I actually answered that question already. But
Yeah.
I think what it is that what people don't understand is that even though we sound sometimes just on a level tone, in the back of our minds, we're freaking out along with the caller.
Mhm.
But it's our job to remain calm, try to keep them calm so that they can answer our questions quickly and we can get help out to them fast. But a
Right.
lot of times people don't understand that.
No. They expect you to be, elevated tone, fast speaking. I
Mhm.
understand what's going on. But that mindset or that type of speaking on the radio is not, the deputies are not confident that you're able to handle that situation if you're
Mhm.
freaking out the whole time.
Right.
We
Yeah.
can't both be freaking out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because then who's got the ball? Like who's
Right.
got point?
Yeah.
And yeah, especially on radio as well. When you're on the radio, if they hear your voice go up a little bit, then they know, okay, something crazy is going on up there, or
Mhm.
or like you were saying, that they don't have that confidence. But the
Right.
same way on our end, if we hear one of the officers, especially an officer who doesn't usually change, who's
Mhm.
always kind of like, hard or whatever,
Yeah.
and you hear a twinge in their voice, something is going down.
Oh yeah.
Ugh, I was getting goosebumps just thinking about it, man.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a crazy profession,
Mhm.
but it's rewarding as well. You've got all of these things. So, do you remember like going through your training process and all of that? Do you remember any of your like your first call or some of the earlier calls that you were dealing with?
Um, I think one of the most, I guess, difficult calls for me early on. I tended to struggle a lot with full arrests or deaths.
Mhm.
I had taken for my first gunshot. Uh, the caller was actually a person in a vehicle,
Mhm.
and his son was sitting beside him in the passenger seat and had pulled out a pistol and unprovoked just shot himself. And like his tone of voice was so calm, like from the get go. I said, "What's the address of your emergency?" He told me where he was at, and he struggled to tell me where he was at because he was driving. He didn't know what intersection he was at. And we were like a minute into the call, and he still hadn't given me a general location. And then he just stops and he goes, "I don't want you to think this isn't serious because it is." He's like, "My son shot himself. I'm still trying to figure out where I am." But the entire time, just like level, calm voice. Not something that I feel like I would have,
Right.
not with that tone of voice would I have said that. But he was possibly also in shock.
Mhm.
But at the time, I'm a new hire. I'm like, "Why are you not freaking out?"
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. That's one of the things that are almost like eerie,
Mhm.
when you have something like that happen and someone is that calm, then you kind of start to wonder if there's more that's going on. Like,
Right.
did that person actually do it, or
Mhm.
anything else that's going on? Because then your mind starts just flowing. It's just start rolling and rolling. And of course, you're typing everything in that you're hearing, right?
Yes.
And then if the officer has already gotten the CAD call on their laptop or whatever, and they're reading it, they're probably thinking the same thing. Like,
Mhm.
okay, there's got to be more to this or something because this person is so calm. But
Right.
also, it could be just like you were saying, it's just shock.
Yeah. And those are difficult too because you're trying to render medical aid and give and like balance like what's more important, getting this information and finding out why did he do this? What kind of pistol is it? What's his name?
Mhm.
Or giving CPR and controlling bleeding. So you're kind of balancing the two.
Right. And
Yeah.
you're kind of triaging
Yeah.
All of those different elements. And so this is what's so important about conversations like this is that I feel like just people don't understand, even with so many things out there, people don't understand even this one call that we're talking about, how there's so many different parts that you specifically on your own are doing.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're juggling every single thing, EMS, CPR, and controlling the blood, telling them these different things, and your brain is just going and going and going. And then when you're done with the call, do you even get the chance to breathe for a moment, or do you go to the next call?
Right.
So for you, for that specific incident, do you remember, like, early on when for that incident, did you go to the next call, or did you get a moment to just be like, okay, that was something? Like,
No, at the time I was call taking, so I wasn't working the radio. It was just next call.
yeah.
And if you get like an animal enforcement problem, it's like you go from 10 to 3 and your body's
Right.
just trying to catch up.
Right, exactly. And I feel like, and I was talking about this yesterday in class, but I feel like there are some times, and maybe you agree with this as well, but there are some times where you're taking hard call after hard call after hard call. And then the dispatch gods or dispatch universe, however you want to say it, they end up like kind of rolling the dice and they throw you one. And it's something it's an out of 10, it's a 3.
Right.
And sometimes we might not think about it, but you needed that one. Like for me, I remember a lot of those hard calls, and then I would get, my partner, I remember, got a call about a naked guy walking on stilts in front of an old man's living room. And just hearing that was enough to break up for me the craziness that was going on, or, maybe a barking dog complaint or something. But it's like, you don't think about it at the time, but afterwards you realize like, I needed that. I needed that to break up the chaos that was going on at the time.
I'm not going to forget that. Naked man on the hills.
Yep. And I haven't either. Excuse me. I will never forget afterwards listening to some of the playback, and my partner had been asking him, like, what is it that's going on? And he's like, man, I really can't explain what it is. I just need someone to come out here. And I don't know if it was the embarrassment because he was talking to a female call taker versus a male call taker.
Yeah.
But, and that type of embarrassment, because I've also had calls where there was a guy who was in a situation that he did not want to say to the female call taker. He wanted to talk to a guy, and it had to do with like, his parts and stuff. And he just felt more comfortable. But yeah, the guy was like, I can't really say. And she goes, sir, there's nobody else for you to talk to. I need you to tell me what's going on. He's like, well, there's this naked man on stilts who keeps walking back and forth in front of my living room window. Officers got out there. They never found the person because there was another. I know there was another guy too, not on stilts, but he was just with the person. But they were close to one of the local colleges, so they think it was like a fraternity or something. That's what they had to do to get in or something.
Very possible.
Yeah, who knows? But that was one of those calls. Now you've gone through, like I said, next month is going to be 5 years.
Yes.
How do you feel like this profession has kind of changed you?
I was a lot more soft-hearted straight out of high school. Not a whole lot of life experience. I didn't even know what a warrant was. I've had to learn to be tougher in certain situations and also put my foot down and stand up for myself.
Right.
Because, being firm is not being rude.
Right.
Sometimes people need a firm hand to guide them to answer the questions rather than you being like, okay.
Right. Yes.
Now please tell me this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they need you to be a little bit more firm with them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things in this profession that ends up changing you. Like for me, so I've got 4 kids, and I remember some of the calls that I would take. And even now, I've been out of dispatch for 11 years. one of them always sticks with me, and it's because my youngest is always like running around, and she, I mean, she's 8, but she's still just like off the wall sometimes. And there was this one specific time that I remember specifically. She had been running around, and then we were going to do kind of like a dinner in the movie in the living room type thing, and she went to get a fork, and she goes, "I'm going to go run and get a fork." And I said, "No, you're going to walk and get a fork, and you're going to walk back with your fork." And she just kind of looks at me, and my older kids already knew what I was talking about.
Right.
And they're like, "Dad." And I said, "Dude," I was like, it could happen. So I just told her, just make sure you walk with it, because if you fall, I don't want you to like stab yourself with it. Because I had taken a call once where it was a mom who called hysterical because her son was running around, and he was running around with a fork, and he fell. And when he fell, it went up in the roof of his mouth and got stuck. And I had to do this medical, and that stuck with me. And so that's one of the things that changed me. Certain calls that you take, you end up looking around or looking out for those around you, whether it be your kids, whether it be nieces and nephews, friends, family members, whatever. So there's a lot that can change with this profession.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you feel comfortable, is there maybe a call that just kind of sticks with you?
Yeah. So I think it was about 2 years ago. I
Mhm.
had taken a call of 3 elderly people that went on a hike. This is my fork.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
sometimes I don't love the idea of hiking because of this. They went hiking on a very remote trail in our county, actually in the area that got hit the worst during the hurricane. Very difficult to access now and still can be. So it was 2 females, they were sisters, and then another one of the females' husbands. And I guess one of the sisters had went into cardiac arrest due to the exertion of walking on the trail. And I had to deliver CPR for like over an hour because it took them so long to get there. And we were going off coordinates. So that's another thing, living in a county where you have a lot of forests, there's no intersections, there's not an address, you're going off coordinates, and if they're moving, it's worse. So, they tell you after so long, brain activity is gone.
Right.
I think I knew like after a portion of time that it was not helping, but it gave them something to do rather than sit there with her and grieve, to actually perform CPR. So that was one of my most memorable calls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have me thinking about hiking, because
Yeah.
that I can see where um, you would have a way about
Yeah.
that type, because that's a trigger as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, anybody who might say this, that's going to be in the back of your mind. And it's a hard thing. And it's when I was in dispatch, even like around 2012, 2013, we didn't have I was in Michigan, so it's not like the way it is. The terrain is completely different. it's
Mhm.
it's flat, but there's a lot of state game area, and we would get people that were lost out there a lot of times, and they wouldn't know where to go. We didn't have rapid SOS or anything like that to pinpoint anything. We would
Mm.
just have to actually fax something to like Verizon or whatever cell phone carrier to try to ping them to find a better location.
Right.
And sometimes they wouldn't be able to find them at all. And then we would lose the call. And then you're like, okay, where do you go from here?
Right.
And it sucked though, because I would then go home and wonder, did they ever make it out?
Mhm.
Hopefully they did, but
Right.
I feel like, at least with the mental health aspect of it, that now with technology the way it is now, it's a little bit better in that sense to find people. But like you said, if they're moving and they're moving and they're moving,
Mhm.
how do you even catch up to them? Or even the best technology doesn't always work. So
Mhm.
what if? So I feel you.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing. Going into the wrap up of this episode, Desiree, it has been awesome to have you on, learn more about you and everything. And thank you for what you do in this profession. One last question for you. If you could go back in time 5 years ago to talk to yourself at the beginning of your dispatch career, what would you say to yourself? And it's not to change anything, because I feel like there's a lot of experiences that we live through that bring us to the person that we are today. But if you could go back in time to talk to yourself, what would you tell yourself?
That like not to let other people walk all over you or intimidate you. Um, that it's going to be okay, and that I am capable of doing hard things. Just
Mhm.
because they're difficult doesn't mean I should shy away from doing those things.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you. And again, thank you for being on. And if you can hang tight here for just one moment. And for those who are watching and listening, if you have any comments, questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us. And that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. But the easiest way to do everything is to simply go to links, and that's links with 2 eyes.co/WTT podcast. You'll find the email, social media, where to follow, the latest episode. Excuse me. The Imagine Listening books, you'll find everything on there. So simply go to links with 2 eyes.co/WTT podcast. This episode has been sponsored by InDigital, a leader next gen core services. You can see this on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X and LinkedIn Live. And then you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone. And we will see you all in the next one. Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life, through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years, I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But Imagine Listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.